Good morning, everyone, and thank you all for being here. Today is June 16th and 10 a.m. Central Standard Time. I'm just going to wait a little bit longer here for some people to show up, and I do want to tell you that I will be talking to you about my stroke survival story, as some of you don't even know that, what I went through and what I'm going through now. Anyway, first of all, I am currently 58 years young, and my stroke happened at 49 years old. Prior to my stroke, and first of all, my stroke happened October 19th, 2010. And prior to my stroke, as I said, I had so many different passions. I was very active, playing golf, playing with my grandkids, flying airplanes, which I started at 18 years old. And I was fairly flying between 2-3 days a week, airplanes. So that was a big passion. I also was playing the drums as well and playing in a band. It was pretty darn awesome. It's kind of crazy, flying 3 days a week in my airplane. I had my stroke a day after I was flying. But it was really good. Also, Barbara, my wife, we traveled a lot. And I also, to start after that, I was working in the banking industry as a vice president, managing many banks. Well, 3 banks worth about $3 billion of assets. And I love to go to work. I mean, that was a huge passion. I couldn't get there early enough for my job, and I stayed late. It was, and I thought banking was it. That's what I'm going to be doing forever. But anyway, for now, this is talking to stroke survivors and all that. This is my passion. I absolutely loved it. But I'm going to start and stop right now. Give a shout out. Salute. Thank you for being here. Mike Peters. Lila, thank you for being here. I appreciate it. And all of you that are out there waiting to come in, I really appreciate you guys being here. It's pretty darn awesome. So again, I'm going to start my stroke survival story, because some of you really, do you know me? Or, because I was always in a co-host position with the other show. So anyway, just wanted to tell you that my wife and I and my son, I have 4 kids, now 10 grandchildren. We moved from Silicon Valley in California in the end of 2009. And again, my stroke was October 19th, as you see it on the screen here, October 19th, 2010. So, and getting back to the banking industry, we all have heard that saying, if you find your passion, then it's not a job. And that, I thought, was just my passion. And I did. It was. Anyway, prior to my stroke, I kept getting nosebleeds. And just thought, I heard here in Texas that the allergies are just crazy here. So I just thought that's what it was, because sinus problems. And I never went to the doctor because of that. And I just, sneezed and all that. But anyway, that's what I heard. So moving here to Austin from the Bay Area in Northern California, I blew it off, those issues. I got to a point where I was always carrying tissues with me. And I made a lot of notes here because a lot of the stuff, when you have a stroke, you forget a lot of things, what happened. So, talking to my family, my kids, trying to get some information. And I've been doing this for years, getting this information. So I tried to write it down. And so anyway, so I blew off those issues as far as sinus issue. So I got to a point again where I was carrying tissues everywhere. So 2 days before my stroke, I was getting so many nosebleeds. I'm gonna stop for a minute. Alan, good morning. Thank you for being here. And thank you for saying that. I'll put out signs, things once in a while, but I appreciate that anyway, Alan. Really. I love the job. I absolutely did. So then October 19th, coming back from a business trip, it was about an 8-hour drive from a conference, and I had a very bad headache, and I was feeling sick. And Barb could tell something was wrong. I just wasn't feeling good. And I told her, I'm just going to go lay down for a little bit and rest. At least that is the plan. So I went to the bedroom to change, and I was kind of getting sick, throwing up, all that good stuff, getting ready to go to another business trip. So anyway, I was walking into the bedroom, and I can feel something is not right. So as I was walking to the bed, I stopped. And I was like, oh my gosh, what's that feeling? I could not feel my right side of the body. And I knew, something was wrong. And that's a crazy feeling. I didn't fall, but it was right there. And I called my wife, and she ran in, and my son, at that time, he was 17 years old. So he and my wife lifted me and put me in the bed. But I kept thinking of the worst. So, believe it, I was really scared, but I accepted it. I accepted it. I actually thought, you have these things go through your head, and I thought, okay, this is over. This is over, and I said to myself, I have so much unfinished business to do. But I was more scared for my family. I thought, oh my gosh, I'm dying. You're having a stroke. It's the weirdest feeling. And again, I didn't know what a stroke was. Again, I thought only the elderly get or have strokes. So I was pretty scared there. And the thing, I have 4 kids, and now I have 10 grandchildren. So I was really scared for them more than myself. I figured, what can I do to change what happened to me? There's nothing I can do. So Barbara called 911, and within minutes, at least I thought, because I could feel that I was just going in and out of consciousness. And within minutes, the paramedics were there. And I didn't know what was happening. I could hear, they were asking me questions. Turn this down over here. I can hear they were asking me questions, and who the president was, what times did you know where you are, and that was it. My daughter said that was it. I couldn't talk, and I passed out. And so they all told me, I was in ICU at the time for 9 days, but apparently they took me to 2 hospitals before they took me here in Texas. It's a stroke hospital. At the time, it was Breckenridge Hospital, and it was a stroke and cardiac hospital. And as I know now, I ended up in ICU for 9 days. 9 days, kind of crazy. And then after I woke up, I was immediately taken to a rehab stroke and spinal cord injury hospital. I was there for 2 months, 2.5 months, and it was very intense. Inpatient physical, occupational, speech therapy. And remember, I couldn't talk. I had no idea what was going on. I couldn't say one thing. And I'll tell you, that is crazy. I had so many people. I can't even tell you how many people visited me in the hospital. It was crazy. And so I couldn't talk. They all, when they were coming in, they were talking to me, and I could make out a few things, but the only way I can talk is shake my head up and down, and that's the only way that I can do anything. And then came therapy. I just didn't know. And the thing is, I didn't know what a hemorrhagic stroke was. I had no idea. And I know, a stroke is so prevalent. Every 40 seconds, someone has a stroke. It's just absolutely incredible. But I heard of a stroke. But anyway, I never imagined a stroke can happen to somebody at 49 years old. I'm currently 58 now. So again, when I woke up, I was in a rehab hospital, St. David's. Bless them, great hospital. But looking, I had so many, hoses, things hooked up, every part of your body. There was wires or things stuck in my arm. They were stuck everywhere. It was kind of crazy. But I kept thinking, wow, I'm alive. But I still couldn't feel my right side. Just, and my face, it was shocking. So I was shocked. But anyway, the biggest part too is I felt I was trapped in my body. I couldn't say anything. That is just the weirdest feeling. I couldn't feel, again, my right side. I did make some notes here, so I'm kind of breezing through some here. So it's kind of going to be a summary. But again, everybody was talking to me. I couldn't say one thing, couldn't speak. But those are true friends, family are there talking to you, joking around, having fun. But I was so confused, didn't know anything was going on again. And the thing we all talk about when you have a stroke, at first you feel so isolated. You couldn't tell anybody how you felt because I couldn't say a word. So it was probably about a month and a half, 2 months where I could start to talk. But it's when I was talking, not most people, but I had aphasia. And I still have an expressive aphasia now, but it's not bad. But at that time, it was, I didn't want to go to speech therapy. I was very frustrated myself. They put me on antidepressants because I was not in a good place. But then the first day of therapy, I can remember it was tense. It was very hard. The tone was terrible on your arm, your legs, and they really twist you. They really twist your arm, and I could feel tears were coming down my face because it was just so painful. I just could not even, I couldn't eat, I couldn't swallow. It was just the most unbelievable scenario that happened to me. And the thing is, I just moved to Texas a year after I had my stroke. Why did that happen? Who knows? I was born with something, apparently. It wasn't because of high blood pressure. It wasn't because of eating wrong. It was just, according to my neurologist, it was something I was born with, and it was a matter of time that this would happen. And it was just, and I loved working. I got the job. I was transferred out. Well, not transferred, but I was recruited to move out to Texas from the Bay Area, California. So Barb quit her job. But then I had a stroke. And most people, when you have a stroke, things are financially devastating for the stroke survivor. But anyway, the good thing is we loved to travel, Barb and us. Before that, my daughter was going through a hard time and lived with us as well. And she had a 1-year-old baby at that time. And she's 11 now. But my son was a junior in high school and moved with us as well. It was hard on him because he left all his friends and, just because of my job, they all had to go with me. But other thing, my wife, my grandkids, they were by my side every single day. Stayed in ICU from morning till night. Stayed a lot of the nights with us, with my wife, my son, my daughter, and even my other daughter who lived in California. She flew out here to see me when that happened. And then my doctor, allowed at that time no coronavirus, obviously. So we had so many people that stayed with us. And one of the other things is my wife took the elevator to try to get her car because she had to go home and try to figure out the bills. And I always did the bills. She had no clue where anything was. And so she was trying to fight off all the, not the bill collectors, well, kind of, that were trying to figure out, how do I pay this bill? Where do I do this? How do I figure it out? But anyway, she figured out that. But then so many times after the fact, I now know, she would go in the elevator and start crying every day. But I didn't know that. October 19th was my stroke, and my anniversary is October 22nd. Needless to say, not that I didn't forget, I did forget it because I was completely out of it. But right away, she had to go back to work, and she's still working the same place. But she was out of work for about a year. And then she finally got the job here, traveling back and forth 2 hours. And I was always in great shape. She made me spinach shakes every day with, kale, ginger, walnuts, blueberry, all that stuff. Jicama, which I can't stand, but that's it. It's okay. I still did it. But I wish I could have helped more because she did everything. She made me healthy. Sometimes what happens to you is when you're in rehab. I remember in therapy, she would bring me home for Thanksgiving because I was still in the hospital from October 19th, and at November, I think around the 23rd, she made Thanksgiving dinner. But I didn't want to go. I just wanted to come back to the hospital. And she said, it's probably because you were taken care of so much there. So I'm still in a wheelchair there. But anyway, she took me back to the hospital. Apparently she was crying all night thinking, what is going to happen to our lives? But she worked hard bringing me back and forth. And I'm so happy she did. Also, while I was in inpatient therapy, I'd go to the stroke support groups. I was one to sit way in the back. I didn't want to talk to anybody. Not one person. Well, first of all, I really couldn't talk. And she was the one that took me there. And eventually, I was one wanting to speak at the stroke support groups to encourage these people. You're not alone. But I know you feel isolated when that happens. You just don't want to talk to anybody. But I listen to the speakers that would talk at the stroke support groups, and I thought at that time maybe I should be talking in front of everybody, because I used to talk a lot during business meetings and all that. So that's what I started doing. And even like my grandkids, I had at that time, one of my grandkids, Lexi, was, I think, 2 years old when I had my stroke. And she was so supportive. She didn't know any better. She was 2 years old. She just wanted to ride in my wheelchair. Pretty funny. But after I regained some of the skills of remembering things that I knew, I found out many nights about Barbara going to get something to eat, and she actually went, like I said, into the elevator, started crying, not knowing what, or even we're going to get better, I'm going to get better, or recover from this nasty thing that happened to me. And how am I going to be like this my entire life, like this? But the nice thing is luckily with the insurance she has, I still go to therapy probably 6 months a year. And I've been doing this every year, did not miss a year at all. And I've spoken hundreds of stroke survivors all over the years. Amazingly, their strokes are all so different. But I'm so glad what I'm doing right now. I love people. I love you all, guys. And I'm going to take 1 second here to say hello. Lynn, good morning. I appreciate you guys being here. And thank you so much. She is an angel. Appreciate that. Um, let's see here. Lynn, I appreciate it. Thank you so much for my new page, Survivor Strive for, wow, can I figure it out? Strive for greatness. Let's talk stroke. And you're right. That's what it's about. And I want to make sure that, we keep the awareness up. And this month is aphasia awareness month, and I want to make sure we do that as well. I want to do one thing here. If I can make it through this one, my son wrote a letter too. I gotta put my glasses on because with a stroke, my eyesight kind of faded a little. But let's see if I can read this without just getting all emotional here. This is from my son Dylan, and he was 17, as I mentioned. He says, "I will start by saying that the fight one must go through when they have had a stroke is beyond measurable. It is the hardest battle they will ever fight. Only they truly understand the pain and struggle that accompanies it. It can be so easy for them to just let go and give up, but they keep pushing forward. They truly exemplify strength and perseverance. When this happened to my father, the hardest thing he and our family has ever been through. As a family member, it's easy to get frustrated. Sometimes this frustration is caused by a lack of understanding and patience. By reading up on strokes, talking to other people, and learning more about it, you begin to understand the reasons why and learn how to help them even more. Even if they try to push you away, which that happened a lot, remain strong for them. To all people that have had a stroke out there, remember, keep pushing forward, never give up. You're not alone, and you are certainly loved. The day my father had a stroke, changed my life forever. I was there when it happened. I remember having to hold him up, carry him to the bed with the help of my mom. Remember, waiting for the ambulance while trying to figure out what is happening. I did not know and understand and became overwhelmed with fear. As soon as the EMT crew rushed through the door, everything started to move in slow motion. I was slowly backing up to let them take over while trying to process everything. And it was, again, in slow motion. This changed our lives forever. We may not have said this in the beginning, but I now believe it has changed our lives for the better. We all have become stronger, closer, more appreciative, and grateful. Those first 2 years to 5 years, I would take my dad to therapy at least 3 times a week. I remember there was times he would get extremely frustrated, but never stop pushing forward. It is crazy to see what he's doing now, from not being able to speak or walk and doing just about everything on his own, remaining positive each day, and continue to work on his well-being. Through it, always remained positive and somehow still made us laugh. This is the part I don't know if I can handle here. He is the strongest person I know and my hero. I am truly the luckiest son in the world. That's his letter. I can't read any other ones because this won't be good. But anyway, I would love to hear. I'm going to look at some of the comments now because pretty awesome. But the stroke has really changed. Well, we all know 3 out of 4 people don't even know the warning signs, which I was one of them, which I had no idea what a stroke was. So, and I'm just going to read some of the comments now too. It will be 2 years, August 8, 2018, when my stroke happened. First, I had brain surgery and then my stroke. Yeah, I think I remember the story, Lennon. We'll have to have you on here. And let's see here. Alan, I think I saw one comment here. He sounds like a lot like you. He is. And my other son too. I have 4 kids, and one of them is in California, on the front line there. But they're all just like me. They're all great kids. So yeah, and Don, good morning. Thanks for being here. Dylan is a great man, son. Yep. You guys can read that, can't you? The apple doesn't fall far from the tree. Yeah, there's so many stories when I was in the hospital. It seemed like most of them were elderly. And there was one time, I made so many friends there. And I had one lady, the elderly lady, and we're both in wheelchairs. And every time when I'm going to dinner, breakfast, lunch, whatever it is, she just wanted to hold my hand. I'd be holding her hand with the in the wheelchair, and we would just chat. I mean, it was just the greatest thing. But then it got to a point where I could hear her screaming outside the hall, Jerry, Jerry, I'm waiting for you. But she it was pretty crazy. But she's anyway, great people that I met there. And love to say it, I love the food there. I love the food there. Got some great therapy there. But the really good thing, you need to have a great support system. For me, that's what got me through it. My family, my friends, the calls that I've been receiving, and the letters were just amazing. I kept them. I actually have hundreds of them, of letters that I kept, and I read them and just look back at who they were from, and people that I didn't know. There were so many people in the ICU that wrote me letters that I'm out of rehab, and they sent them to the hospital. It's just remarkable. So really, it's important to have a great support system. It makes a huge difference. But yeah, you guys, stroke is just amazing. But for me, it's for the better. Like I said, and like Dylan said, it makes you stronger. My family is so much closer now. I know I skipped out so much detail in my story, but just to let you know, I am a stroke survivor. So, and I go through the same things you guys go through. I mean, there's times I just don't want to get out of bed. I mean, this is just typical. We all, talking to people, and you think, oh, you're strong, you can handle it. Trust me, we all have those days that are, like my good friend Lynette says, it's okay to, get down in the dumps and play a pity party for yourself. But you know what? Right, Lynette, if you're out there, you don't have a reason to stay in there. You have no right to stay like that. Get out and I tell you, having a stroke for me, it helps is to stay busy. I am busy all the time. And again, therapy during these times, most of us, not all, but don't go to therapy because of this situation. But I still work on my therapy that I've learned. When you graduate from your therapy, at times, they give you some home therapy stuff to do. But I've been going to therapy for 9.5 years, at least 6 months a year. So I have so many things that I've learned. I've forgotten a lot, but so many things that are that I work on, and I work on them, all the time. Like at home, my tone in my ankle, trying to stretch it out. I do that 3-4 times a day, whatever. Even if I'm brushing my teeth, that's something I do. But these are things you have to work on. And then with me, I started really doing some good things. My ankle I was doing better, but I still wore the AFO because it really made me more stable. But sometimes I didn't wear it, and I ended up tripping over the carpet in the kitchen. I fell, and I've fallen a lot. I had my share of falls. I can't even tell you how many times I fell. I fell, and first of all, I don't want to. I'm going to just back up here. I carry my cell phone everywhere it goes. I do not have it. It's with me all the time, just in case something happens. And I ended up breaking my hip in the kitchen. And there we go. I had my cell phone. I knew right away I couldn't have call. I just if you hear things, sorry, somebody's on the roof fixing something. But anyway, I broke my hip, and that was January 29th this year. And I ended up breaking my hip, and I did go to therapy inpatient, but I couldn't even walk then. So they ended up the coronavirus hit, and I had to do my therapy at home. So I'm now walking, not a pretty sight, but I'm doing that. So let's see here. I'm going to look at some of the comments. So Salute, that's why I started our own page to share what I do with Tom, and I know you do that. That's what I'm doing. That's why I started my own page, and I know Serena, you did a great job setting up the chat for all of us, and it's terrific. And it's Strive for Greatness. Let's talk stroke. So that's pretty awesome. But it really is. Stroke is really not for the weak. I'll tell you, for what I went through, it was not an easy thing. I was on so many antidepressants then. It was challenging. And another thing, I just want to go back to the hospital. When I was in the hospital, there's so much noise here, and I apologize because when we got the house, there was something missing on the roof, and I don't know what it is, so apologize. So when I was in the hospital, oh boy, this is kind of crazy. Oh, I apologize. I don't know how long this is going to have to last doing this, but maybe we can just listen to this. So, anyway, there was this gentleman that always came by once a week. It's not good. Anyway, Cassie, thank you. How bad is this noise you hear? How bad is it? Can you hear all this? Yeah. Alan, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it. I really do. Yeah, thank you, Alan. It really means a lot to me that you showed up, and I appreciate it. But anyway, this gentleman stopped by my room once a week. I thought he just wanted to be my friend, and ended up finding out he was a psychiatrist to make sure that a lot of people gonna go crazy and different issues with stroke. So that's what he was making sure how bad or good I was. So, but he ended up being my friend after all that. But 2.5 months I spent in the hospital, and I spent outpatient for several years at the same hospital. I'd go 3 times a week, as I mentioned, with my son drove me. And in fact, my daughter, Cassie, met her husband there at the same hospital where I ended up. So she worked there in the ER. Yeah. Do I need earplugs? Yeah, I don't know, Lila. Apologize. Leslie, nice that you're here too. But it's just stroke is, again, not for the weak. And but it was an amazing journey that I had going through stroke. I mean, being in the ICU for 9 days, and then I woke up at a rehab hospital. There's so many parts of this story that I'm leaving out, but my daughter, my granddaughter, my other daughter, my son was in Okinawa in the Marines, and then he heard I had a stroke. They gave him leave, and he flew here from Okinawa to Austin here, and ended up staying with me for a month or two before he had to go back to the Marines back in Okinawa. But anyway, it's just it's pretty amazing that they allowed him to come too. So I had all four of my kids. And at the time, several of my grandkids here were here. So I tell you, the support system is so important. You have to have a great support system. It's really important. So I suggest go to a stroke support group. If you're not like me, in the beginning, I didn't want to go to the support group. Again, I was one in the back. I would hide so they wouldn't call on me or anything. I just didn't want to, because I was more embarrassed that I had a stroke. But the funny thing is, everybody else there in the stroke support group had a stroke, but then their families were there. And I just, people look at you a little differently. But I come to find out a while ago, it's okay. Everybody has their own issues. And again, I always smile to somebody. Smile to them. You don't know what they're going through. They don't know what we've been through. Thank you, Salute. But again, if you look at the top, you can see that is my arm, my tattoo that I got with my date of my stroke. It's supposed to say stroke survivor, stroke on the top, survivor underneath, but it was just a matter of time. But anyway, I would like to remember some more things. But again, the support system that you have is probably the most important thing you need to have. Because for me, 100%, I had the greatest support system, the friends, so many people that really supported me on this journey. Yeah, I'm reading some of the comments, so I appreciate you guys being here. Thank you, Salute. You're a winner because winners never quit. And you all the same. You guys all are the same. Oh, boy, here we go again. Sorry. But, yeah, it makes a difference, Mike. I do, too. I smile. You say hello, whatever. And that makes a difference. But with all the stuff going on right now in this, what's going on here at the house, I'm really apologetic for this. So I just want to tell you guys, I may end up cutting this a little shorter just because of what's going on here. Sorry. But anyway, yeah, I may have to cut this short, but I will. But you guys are awesome, and you guys that showed up here for me, it makes a big difference. And I'd love to end with this saying too. It makes a difference. Yes, Mike, love is so important. It really makes a big difference. Very important just to be loved. And I do want to say one thing too. My shows don't need to be 1 hour long. Certain times they will be, certain times they won't be. But I do want to say I know some of you are still here. Let's see. Hey, Paul, how's it going? I'm reading yours. You had open heart surgery on May 15th, 2019. My aortic valve replaced, then suffered an ischemic stroke. 4 months later. Wow. So pretty recent due to my NR not being therapeutic, I lost all trust in the medical field. Yeah, I was kind of shocked when I jump around a lot, but after my stroke, then when I broke my hip, I know I can't have blood thinners. That's something I had this hemorrhagic stroke. I said that to every person in the hospital when they're going to perform like anything. So doing my surgery for my hip, I told them first thing they do, which I didn't know until afterwards, they told my wife and the kids that they gave me some blood thinners while I was in there, and then they immediately remembered they can't do that. I couldn't have a blood thinner. So they ended up putting something else in there, I don't know what it is, and it attached onto the blood thinner, and it dissolved it like a salt. But they kept me in there for a while. um, in the hospital just because they're seeing if anything more is going to happen to me or what. But it didn't. And anyway, that's kind of going off on a tangent. Like I think Salute told me you did that. I do that too. But again, I do have a good saying, and I like to end with lots of times I do this, and it really makes a difference to me. And I'll make sure I do that. So I'm just right now, I'm going to start bringing up comments. Mike Peters, yeah, someone once said, you never heard of someone saying on their deathbed, I wish I'd spend more time at the office. Well, that is true, huh? Wow. But yeah, but with our family, we appreciate everything so much more now. I mean, it's not like we didn't appreciate each other, but life is too short. So when things happen, a major illness like when I had my stroke, which you all had your strokes, same thing. You Okay, this is part of the stroke. You forget things, but appreciate, and you all appreciate each other, and be nice to and kind to each other. I'm telling you, it's so important. We all need to learn to love each other and be strong, be authentic. Just be who you are, because you'll feel better. And just tell people how you feel. And again, I I love my family. I love what I went through, not necessarily, but yeah, stay safe. And but I do, again, I've been saying this probably for the last few minutes, but here's my end of the saying is always the same. Remember, today is a gift, and make it count. You hear that? Remember, today is a gift, and make it count. And I always like to say that because it's such a great saying. So anyway, I'm pretty close to the end, and I know I've forgotten so much more of my story. But what I'd love to have is my daughter who's there, and my wife. Oh, that's going to be tough. She won't want to be on. But I'd love to have them on to tell me, because last night we were talking, and there's some stories that, she said I was so depressed. I was really, they were worried about me, how I was acting. Yeah, I'm going to read some of them. Here we go again. Salute, I didn't have a stroke, as most of us know you, Salute, that you didn't have a stroke. You are the caregiver for Tom Williamson. And you go off on tangents, yes. And I forget mid-sentence what I'm saying. Yeah, there you go, just like me. Yeah. Well, yeah, no. Lila, no, it can't be part 2 on Thursday. Just let you know, is Paul Cummings, if most of you know, will be on the show. So Paul Cummings, and don't miss that show. You'll love what Paul and I were talking about earlier, and he will be he'll be on the show on Thursday. So love it. See, remember, today is a gift, and make it count. Go make it count, you guys. So really enjoy your day. Today's Tuesday, the 16th, and you guys, I really appreciate again being here. And we will be talking later. And enjoy your day, you guys. And I love you all. And thanks for being here on Let's Talk Stroke. This is my story. So we will all talk to you again in the chat. Please join it, and we'll see you later. Bye, you guys.